Welcome to the Art of Hobbiness. I'm Tam, joined by my lovely co-host and dearest friend, Erin. And today we're actually going to dive into one of Erin's hobbies that she's been trying. Puzzles, actually. Easy enough.
Yeah.
In theory, right?
Right.
You think things are easy enough.
Yeah.
And then you get in there and you're like, what did I do?
So this is one that I've actually really enjoyed. So
What?
it's a positive.
Yes!
It's a positive.
She got one. Okay, so tell me, what made you decide puzzles?
Okay, so I have a 5-year-old Roman, and he actually started really getting into puzzles. He would get those. He's 5, so he'd get those. I don't know if your kids have any of these really big puzzle pieces.
Oh yeah,
There's
puzzles like everywhere.
50 pieces or something, and they're
we
like
could probably
big,
look on my floor and find puzzle pieces
floor
right now.
The floor puzzles. And so he has been really into those, and he's gotten pretty decent at them. And I have to help him along. And I was finding myself being like, oh, I want to help him, or I want to do it, And I was like, well, maybe I should get my own puzzles and try this, because he is so into it, and I'm kind of enjoying this process. And we talked a little bit about parallel play, and I was just thinking, it would be kind of cool if we could do puzzles together, especially if he's doing that, and it's a nice calming activity. So that's where I got the inspiration. And so I started looking at, when you start thinking about something, you start seeing them everywhere. So I'm like at Target, and I'm in the little dollar section, I find a puzzle.
Oh yeah, and that look like right there at the front where they've got all the things for $1.
Yep.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes. And then there's a thrift store by our house, so I just went in, it popped in there, and there was a whole row of puzzles, a couple bucks. I'm like, well, I'm gonna get these.
Thrift store. I never really thought to do a thrift store puzzle.
So I just went in and picked a couple, and so I brought them home, and it's been kind of nice because it's one of those things that you don't have to finish. You can kind of start it and then come back to it, and you don't have to, I don't know. It's just a nice kind of relaxing thing, and you can think about other things while you're doing it, but you're also still focused on something. So it's nice. What's
so interesting about puzzles, in my opinion, is, we talk often about the longevity of a hobby, right? Does a hobby have to be something that's ongoing, or is it still a hobby if it's just a quick blip in your life, right? Puzzles have like a quick gratification, in my opinion, and can continue going, right? So you start a puzzle, you just have to complete that puzzle, check, move on. Do you start another puzzle? Of course, I'm loving the puzzle hobby. Check, move on. So then there's an ending within a non-ending.
Well, that's true. I didn't really consider that. That is, the instant gratification is kind of nice.
Yeah,
I agree. That's a good point.
You get it done, but then if you like it, you just can keep doing puzzles. But then you can finish a puzzle depending on the size. If you're one of those people that does 3,000, that might take you longer.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a 10-piecer,
and it kind of translates across every generation. I think my 5-year-old's doing them. I remember actually I have really positive memories of doing them with a grandparent when I was a kid. We do them together, and it's just, I think at any age you can do them, and you can do them together or you can do them solo. So it's kind of a cool aspect of them too. And like you said, there's little puzzles that are the one I got from Target was 150 pieces. So I was able to knock that out really quickly in one session. But then I bought this other crazy one that was this butterfly collage. It's all it is so hard. So, but
stress levels are starting to rise.
It's 1,000 pieces. So that's a lot more challenging. But I think there's a lot there actually. And I don't know, something about the, I don't know, just the mental, I don't know, what do you call it? The, just figuring out solving the puzzle, figuring out where the piece goes. It's something in your brain. I kind of like that feeling. I don't know, of solving that problem.
You're problem solving in that, which is clever, right? You also have depending on the size of the puzzle pieces, I bet some of them are easier to just kind of zone out and maybe think about life. Yeah. Where other ones you really dive into that. So I bet that would be really awesome to just listen to your mood and how you're feeling. And then if you go to sit down to do a puzzle, having a difference of a really hard focus one versus one that you're just casually doing while you're listening to a Netflix show in the background. I bet that would be a really dynamic hobby. That'd be a very dynamic hobby. And it's actually sitting here and talking that out with you is making me be
try a puzzle.
Maybe I want to do puzzles, because you get the instant ending with the puzzle if you've got a smaller one, but then Man, you got me onto something with puzzles, Erin.
And then, so do you ever do puzzles, or have you in the past?
June's really into puzzles, and she's constantly wanting me to do them with her. I find myself finishing them. Like, she likes to get it started and then move on, and then come back and then move on. I struggle with that. I think I'm more in the phase now where
get it
I'm
all
like,
done.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not leaving this spot, June, until we finish this.
Gotcha. So I have a question for you. So, when I was a kid, do you do the border first, or do you start from the inside first?
Oh, so because I'm with June, that's an interesting question. Because I'm with June, when I'm doing these puzzles, she loves to do the characters. So the border, so the border is the boring part. So I do the border, she does the characters in the center. I don't know if that's just how I've always been, but I can say that in doing puzzles with her, that's my assigned role. Because the border is no fun. She wants to make the characters.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What about you?
Well, somebody told me recently, a friend of mine told me that she did them from the inside out. And I was like, that is so weird.
That is so
weird.
Like,
what you do. So she does what you're talking about with, like, June does. She finds, like, the patterns inside and the characters or whatever it is and builds from that part of it. And I was like, that was like a whole weird mental shift. And I know it's not that deep, but I was like, I always learned you start with the corner pieces and you do the border, because then you, like, those are easy to find, the straight edges, you know? And so when I got this puzzle recently, I was like, this butterfly puzzle, because it's all these butterflies and there's not a lot of, it's challenging because there's just like different butterflies and some of them are the same colors. So I started doing that. I started doing from the inside out. And I was like, this actually makes a lot of sense.
What?
Yes.
No way. Yes. Okay, so then, like, because you're doing the inside out, right? Which now, like, I'm going to do puzzles. I'm going to think of, like, am I doing its guts, or am I doing the outer story? Is it a change in the, like, your thought process? Do you feel like that makes the puzzle easier?
Kind of, because you're grouping, like, the colors together, the patterns together, and then you start putting them together versus just trying to find all the straight pieces, you know? I don't know. It's just like a weird mental shift. So, yeah.
You know, Pat and I always have conversations about, like, how he has a theory that women have, like, more cones in their eyes that helps them see colors a little bit better. And, you know, when we're doing puzzles, like, especially, like, complicated ones, like what you're saying, like how that butterfly one is, it's funny because, like, I do find myself looking for colors, right? Specific color themes. And I know that I'll say things to, like, because, you know, so Pat will join me in June in the puzzles. And I'll be like, okay, I'm looking for a red one. And he'll give me a red one. And I'll be like, that doesn't have enough brown in it. And he'll be like, that's confusing messaging. You just said you wanted red. And I was like, that is red, but there's not enough brown in the red. Yeah. Like, I need more.
Like, you have to be able to very in tune to those subtleties when you're doing a puzzle.
Yeah.
The patterns and
Do you feel like you are, like, aware of those things? Do you feel like you're improving on those color patterns?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, just it's you, because then that's the part where you have to focus, right? You have to be, like, really pay attention to the detail and the detail. And I am pretty detail oriented, so that's probably like it makes it easier for me to do puzzles. But so it's kind of fun.
How long do you sit down and, like, do a puzzle for?
So with toddlers, it's been that is the challenge, I think, with the puzzles, right? So one thing I have found is, so I have a 5-year-old and an almost 3-year-old. So the 5-year-old's great. Like, he understands you can't just come and knock the puzzles off the table, right? The other one, not so much. He sees all these little pieces and he's like, oh, fun. So that has been the challenge, is that when I've started a few puzzles and the 3-year-old will come over and get on the table and just grab a handful and just chuck them across the room.
Godzilla.
I'm like, this is stress inducing, right? So that has been hard, because I feel like if you get a challenging puzzle, you can't finish it all in one go.
Sure.
And it almost is helpful to get up and leave and come back to kind of, like, just reset, and because you get a little frustrated if you start to, like, they all start to look the same.
Oh yeah.
So that has been hard. And so I recently found this really cool tool that I highly recommend if you're into puzzling. It is this puzzle mat. And so you lay it down and you do your puzzle on it, and you can, like, some of them I didn't get this kind, but some of them have even, like, sorting boxes on the mat that you can like sort stuff. But if you want to pause with your puzzle, it has, like, you roll it up and it keeps everything, like, where you were.
No.
Yes. And
game changer.
It is a game changer, because it allows you to stop but not have to put it all away.
Yeah.
And so with the toddlers, it has been incredible, because it has gotten rid of that frustration point.
Yeah.
And so, because before I was like, I don't really want to start because I know they're going to come in here like a wrecking ball.
And then you won't be able to finish it.
Yeah.
And then you just have like that in the back of your mind that there's this puzzle out there that once could have been finished, but now it's not.
Yeah.
That's great because like we don't have like a
space for it.
Yes.
Really,
unless we're sitting on the floor, right? But I can't leave a puzzle just sit on the floor.
So you could do this on the floor, put this mat down on the floor, and then roll it up, and it's kind of like a little, carrying bag, and put it away, like in the closet, and then you can roll it back out.
Brilliant.
I know.
Whoever invented Puzzle Mat, thank you for your services.
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yes.
Okay, so on this here podcast, we give rankings to hobbies, right? To kind of help ourselves and our audience decide whether or not this is a hobby that they want to try. One of them being engagement. How absorbed are you in this activity? Ranking it 1 through 5, how absorbed would you say you are in puzzles?
I would say pretty high, like 4.
Yeah?
At least, yeah.
Like when you're there?
I think you're pretty focused, but you can still your mind can wander a little bit, I think, so it's pretty high.
Do you think that I think we talked about this a little bit, but do you think that that's based upon like the size or the complexity of the puzzle?
Yeah. Definitely the bigger puzzles, smaller pieces is you have to really focus more.
But now that you got the mat, you can do it in short little bursts.
Yes.
I'm going to have to get me a mat. If you could send me the link to your mat, please.
I sure will.
Because that's brilliant. So I feel like that would just change my opinion. I know personally that we do puzzles and I end up usually walking away frustrated because we can't finish them and I can't just leave it on the floor or on the kitchen table because we've got lives to live here, right? So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is enjoyment. How much pleasure or satisfaction do you derive from the hobby?
I also feel like it's high from like what you said, instant gratification. So I would rank that as maybe a 5. It's pretty satisfying because you can finish it pretty quickly. And
that is true. And I bet if like you have like a collection, because you talked about like just going to the thrift store and getting puzzles, so brilliant because that's a low cost way to kind of get a bunch of those. And if you can get a different varieties of sizes based on how much time you have, and if you get fairly consistent with puzzles, I bet you could know, I can bang a 100 piecer out in 10 minutes or a 3,000 piecer in like an hour or something like that. Can you bang out a 3,000 piecer in an hour?
No, definitely not. No? Definitely not.
Is that
that's a day? That's a multiple day one thing for me at least. And also I think too, if you can find like pictures that are pleasurable, like enjoyable to you, like that are aesthetic to you, I think that makes it more fun too.
Can you make your own puzzles?
Oh yes, you can. And so I've actually been thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about that. I've been looking into this because it's something I do want to try.
Really?
Yeah, it is a thing to make your own puzzles. So you have to, there's different opinions on the material you want to use, but it seems like you want to use like a thicker cardboard type of material or like almost like a wood material.
Okay.
'Cause I don't know if you've ever gotten like Chick-fil-A ones or like those real thin puzzles and they kind of are real flimsy and they don't really stick together very well. So stuff like that doesn't hold up. But so like a thicker material, and then you can like stick on your picture, and you have to make a grid and cut out the pieces, with the little loops in them and stuff. So that's something that I think it could be really cool.
Like, so I'm thinking like a family portrait.
Yes.
Although just sitting here thinking about it, I talked about how I'd be like, give me the red one. I'd be like, give me the one that has my crow's feet. Like, I just don't think maybe I don't like the idea of my face on a puzzle.
Yeah. Well, it could be a favorite family, vacation photo or something, or I don't know, it could be anything. So yeah, I think that would be kind of a cool segue from puzzling, just to make your own puzzles.
That's so interesting. I'm sure there's got to be an Etsy shop too that like you could just like take a photo to, and somebody could just print that for you. But
probably
to keep on trend with us of doing a hobby is maybe at some point like you actually create a puzzle that I could maybe do. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so skill development is another thing that we talk about. To what extent does the hobby help you develop new skills or improve existing ones?
I don't know if it helps you build new skill. I guess it helps you build focus, and it helps your like spatial relations in your brain, like having to put that. So I would say if you're not used to doing puzzles, it probably does help build some new skills and help strengthen those skills as well.
What do you think about those skills from being a toddler or a child to an adult? Do you feel like those are two different? Would it be ranked two different ways?
That's a good point. When you're little, you're learning everything's new, so it probably is a lot more powerful to learning those like sitting down, focusing, trying to just the focusing is one really big one, right? And then learning you're solving a problem. So
and kids seem naturally drawn to it, so there's got to be some sort of like developmental thing that's occurring there.
I would imagine it's really high for a child. So I would say maybe a 5. For an adult, if you've done puzzles, you're not really developing a new skill necessarily. You're just strengthening them. So, yeah.
Interesting. I think I'm going to be more mindful of puzzling now when I'm with June, because I do feel like, because as she's grown, you started with like you said, like little 4-piecers that are super frail from like Chick-fil-A, and then like we've progressed now to like she really likes. I feel like she only has enough patience for about 100 pieces, and anything more than that, it's too much. Like she likes to keep it down. It almost seems like 50 pieces is too easy for her. So it's interesting to see how she's kind of developed, and is that just natural to her, or is that just toddlers in general? Do they naturally start, there and progress more, and it's just like helps them hone in basic skills?
I would think so. I've noticed the same trend with Roman. We started with like these little Paw Patrol ones that were maybe 10 pieces, and he had a set of those, and he mastered those, and it was so cool. Like you just see it in his face when he finally got it. We started and he was so frustrated, like he would get so mad because he couldn't figure it out, and like we started doing them together, and I started explaining, like pointing out, like, see how this color matches this color, do you see how this, and I saw it click in his brain, and now it is so cool. Like I usually will have to start a puzzle with him to get him going, but then I'll be like, oh, I gotta go in the other room, and I'll be back in a minute, and I'll come back and it'll be done, and he is so proud of himself.
Aww.
Like you can just see it in his face, because they're it's just a new thing that he's mastering. And it's really cool to see.
That's gotta feel really good to see, like,
really
that
good.
sense of satisfaction on your child, like achieving something. Because I mean, like, what kind of, like, it's almost like project management, right? And like, what kind of projects do they really work on, right? And I feel like a puzzle is a very great example of project management that he starts and finishes, and like, again, like it's a kind of an instant gratification, so that's really great.
And it forces him to slow down, because he's a very, like, a 5-year-old. He's super energetic, and he's just like all over the place most of the time, but it's something that it's like one of the things, and we try not to do too much TV time. I feel like it's the only other time I'll sit and like focus on something. So it's cool.
Good job for like helping him like harness that, because I feel like that's wonderful. Okay, then what about social interaction? How much opportunity does the hobby provide for socializing and connecting with others?
I think it could be high. I've been doing them solo or just with him, like the 5-year-old with Roman. But I actually, I think it could go either way.
Are there puzzle clubs?
I was just thinking that. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there was.
Yeah? Would you explore that and then let me know?
Sure.
Because I'd be very curious to know. Yeah. Because, I mean, I feel like, whenever I talked about how my hobby that I'm currently working on is bird watching, and you were talking about how like there's like competitions for it, had no idea, and we're finding that most hobbies have some sort of community. Even the solo ones seem to have a community, and my perception of solo ones seem to have community.
Right.
So I'm curious to know if there's like a puzzle club.
Yeah, and I think there is something about like solving a problem with somebody, because you can easily do a puzzle with at least one other person, if not a couple other people. And that can be social. So what would you rank the social interaction between 1 through 5? I would say 4. Yeah? Could be. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's potential. Especially because, like, as a mom, you're doing it with your kids, so it's a very social building thing. And maybe that's the thing that's developing with the kids of doing the puzzles, is because they're usually doing it maybe with an adult. Right. And that's kind of helping build a relationship there and achieving a goal together. Yeah. I could see that being, that's fulfilling for me whenever me and my kids like achieve a goal together. Definitely. I think for anybody that's powerful. Yeah. Right? So I bet the kids like resonate with that, and then doing it with like their parents, I'm sure that's got to feel like satisfying. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What about stress relief? How effectively does the hobby help you relax and unwind? So I would say it's mixed on that. I think probably put it more like a 3, because it can go either way. I think it's about timing, how, like, for me, at least right now as a busy mom, like trying to make sure the kids aren't going to come in and destroy things, because that can be stressful. I just found that piece. Just the other day I was doing one of the smaller puzzles, and Malcolm came up and he spilled a glass of water on the table, and so it ruined, like the paper thin ones. Yeah, 10 of the puzzle pieces, and I was like, well, I'm going to throw that thing away now, because I kept trying to do it, and the things like got like expanded.
Yeah.
Because they're like made out of cardboard. And so like you can't put the pieces together anymore. I'm like, oh my gosh, so frustrating.
I do find it irritable.
So I would put it at 3 because if I time it well, it is relaxing. If I can just sit down and just like kind of focus on it. But if things like that happen, it's not so not.
Yeah, I feel like a stressor for me with puzzles is if they aren't perfectly flat, because that my perfectionism comes out, right?
Yeah.
So like you said, the cheaper, more thinner piece or puzzles always seem to have bends in them, or are
stick together very well.
warped from being sucked on from a toddler, right?
Yep.
And like when I try to work those puzzles, like I'm just like, it's ugly. I can't stand it. It won't lay flat. I need the lines to match.
Yes.
So yeah, I would definitely say a quality of the puzzle, like being made, I feel like would be a stressor for me just out of my perfectionism alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, dang, Erin. I mean, I feel like
so I rated it pretty high overall. Maybe like I don't know what that'll add up to, but probably 4 overall, 4 to 5.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, you totally have me like rethinking how puzzles are done, and it's so fun to be trying these puzzles out together because I feel like it's creating like lifestyle changes, and it's causing me to just look at just my world differently. Like a world that I'm just like doing all the time, and like I clearly am taking for granted.
Yeah, because you already are doing them, or your daughter is, right?
Yeah,
and you're doing them a little bit,
right? And so I just I think that's really fascinating, and I appreciate you talking about that with us today, and hopefully. I know it's not starter baby, and
no, it's a positive thing, and I think it's one of those things that I can just kind of dabble in here and there when I feel like it. Maybe I am shopping and I'm like, oh, that puzzle's cool. I'm going to pick it up and do it sometime,
Love that.
And so I think that it can translate to many things. And there's also, like, I've been thinking, like, there's so many other types of puzzles versus just those kind, the kind we're talking about. Like, it can be like Sudoku, those kind of puzzles. Like, there's all sorts of
like a brain
puzzles, which I think I would enjoy too.
Oh, so. Yeah. We'll have to dive more into that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Erin, for sharing that with us today. Hopefully you've encouraged some of our listeners out there to really look into their puzzle world. Maybe that really is your journey. That's your hobby right there. Your hidden hobby is you were a puzzler all along. I'm going to go get me that puzzle mat. Yeah. Send me that link.
Oh, yeah, I will. All right. Thanks, Tam.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to The Art of Hobbiness. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And for more Erin and Tam fun, be sure to follow us on all socials for behind-the-scenes footage on our journey to find hobbiness.